My name's Andy Reid, and you're watching Alchemicast right here on Alchemical Records. This is episode 0, and with me, I'll have Daniel Hill, the owner of Alchemical Records and frontman of Yellow Tie Guy. Please welcome him to the show. Hey, how's it going, Daniel?
Cool. Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. This is our first episode.
Woohoo!
Oh, yeah. So I prefaced it a little bit by just trying to pump up your ego and tell us a little bit about what it means to be the owner of Alchemical Records. It's great to be part of this show, so I'm just looking forward to hearing what you can say about Alchemical Records.
Thanks, Andy. I'm excited for what Alchemical Records has accomplished and for what I think its potential is. As a musician in the DMV, interested in seeing this area recognized for the incredible talent that we have in the area, and feeling like it can be hard to have a listening ear, and so artists that can at least know that there's somebody that's invested in the community as much as they are in an effort to try to just spread the love globally about what a great scene this is.
Yeah. How are you holding up amidst COVID?
Doing well. Very quarantined. Groceries are about the only thing I go out for. But doing really well and really just enjoying the extra time with the family.
Yeah, and we're all trying our best to stay safe and healthy and maintain a good sense of normalcy, throughout this entire crazy period.
Absolutely. Yeah, got to do what you got to do. Thank goodness for what music there is.
Yeah, right, exactly. And being a musician, you know that you have such an ability to help and stay connected with others. What are you doing right now to stay connected?
I do a lot of Zoom calls, and I'd say just in general, to make myself pretty accessible for phone calls if possible, schedule consistent meetings with as many people as possible. Because it's not just about trying to accomplish a specific goal as much as it's also just saying, hey, we're all in this together.
Yeah, we are all in this together. As a musician in the DMV, you've seen the scene change over the years. What's something memorable that has impacted you about the DMV as a musician?
Honestly, it's a little tough. I think I've always tried to do something. So, so I'm always trying to be a part of it. When I think about the stuff going on in the scene, I feel like we're starting to get it. And so that's what I praise the most is I think there was a real special time when I came on the scene, and people who were kind of in that moment were really receptive to and open to the fact that anything could happen and we could meet anybody and we could be at an open mic and see the next breakthrough person, and feel like we were there. And a lot of us have felt like we've had that moment and shared in that moment and seen like more and more people also kind of coming to that acceptance, of just anything could happen and anybody could be the next person on stage and it could just blow our minds. So there's a really strong reception in the local scene for what it can do. And that's exciting. Man,
I miss open mics. They do have some local ones I hear at Epicure Cafe in Fairfax. And I think that's on Thursdays or something, but it's challenging with social distancing in effect to try to jam and to maintain the sense of jamming. So recognizing how the coronavirus has changed the music scene, what can music lovers do to support musicians in this time? If not going to open mics or just, purchasing music online or something.
I think that everybody should have a monthly budget for what they're willing to spend. I was talking to at Tarka earlier today about, there's a convenience of having a $10 a month subscription to the music subscription platform of your choice. But there's there is no substitute for owning something and feeling like you own it and that it's a part of you. And this is something that you're going to want to explore more of. And I think that if we think about um, buying CDs back in the day, $10 odds for a CD budget was BS.
Yeah.
So you know, like at least give yourself a $50 a month budget and spend $10 on a music platform and spend $40 a month on something that you heard by somebody, and without using these discovery platforms as a tool for uh, listening to an entire album, buy the vinyl, you
Yeah.
know, buy the CD and make time to listen to it. And then make time to listen to it on a pair of headphones and see if you missed anything the first time around.
Mm.
You know, just give yourself these music listening experiences and really engage with it.
Yeah, isn't that the best, that when you listen to something the second time around, you're like, wait, I didn't catch that. Oh, wow. And the beauty of listening to something on a physical medium, so like CDs or my favorite vinyl, you can listen to the intricacies as it was originally recorded. So I feel like supporting musicians, not just buying the music, but telling people that you bought the music and that you listen to that record and man, it's awesome. It's one of your favorites. What's one of your favorite albums?
Well, I was pretty excited to see that Tonic has just released a song in time, you know, for uh, for the season of love here, and so that always gets me thinking about about their early stuff. I was kind of an early '90s music junkie, so when they came out with um, Lemon Parade, and it had If You Could Only See,
Yeah.
which I think is a fantastic song, and like really, really just not even the best song on the record. And what's really cool about that is they're a big influence. And if you listen to their songs are very specific. They do a really good job of being tonic while each song kind of has its own personality. I think especially on that record. So I've always kind of tried to strive for that in my own musical quality.
Yeah. So as the frontman of Yellow Taiga, and what a name. Can you tell us a little bit about the band and what that means to you?
The band is like a lot of artistic endeavors. It evolves and becomes completely something different over time. When Yellow Tie Guy first started, it felt very much like I was the singer songwriter with a group of guys and gals who played the music, and things were kind of expected to be done my way. Um, I had the most vision. Maybe they didn't realize how much help I actually needed or wanted. Uh, but I had some songs and I had some people that liked them enough to play them, and we got the ball rolling with a couple shows and our first record. When we first started, we were doing all acoustic. The bassist was Mary Celeste, and she was playing an upright bass at the time.
Mm.
And now we've got keyboard, which I think maybe is always in the back of my mind a dream of mine, something unattainable that eventually comes to be. Um, so the whole band dynamic has just really changed. And I think that now with the group that we have, which is Jamie, Kyle, and Eric, um, these guys really treat it like theirs, and together have a camaraderie um, that really makes it a band now, and not just like a singer songwriter trying to do things in their own terms. And so I think the music that we're coming out with is completely different than what we started with back in 2011.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. So since 2011, um, what type of venues were you guys playing at? Any of the ones around the area you could name drop?
We've played everywhere that'll have us, to be honest with you, and with any lineup of people that seemed like fun to hang out with. Um, I I probably had the leg up by getting a chance to do a solo acoustic song at the 930 Club as part of the DC Music Rocks Festival. And that was a disappointing thing for the guys to not be a part of. But as a band, that's really where I'd like to think that we'd see more of us at if we had a chance to go out. As we've built up a pretty good fan base, and we've worked really hard to try to increase the size of our live audience. And uh, after 20 years, we've made a few friends, and so I'm really grateful.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably due. Um, and the DC community has seen a whole lot of change in the last 2 or 3 decades, from people that predate my existence, that were around in some of the early formative stages of DC punk, to what it is now, where most of it is live streaming, or people going to venues that are closed and performing anyways to an empty audience. What do you think the future of music in the DMV is going to look like as a musician yourself?
Well, I think it's important just to recognize the not just the immediate changes that have happened, but just to recognize that the industry is constantly changing. And there's always a fair mix of things like live venues, um, being on television, or in this case, live streaming. It's more than three TV channels to choose from, which is great. Um, but I mean, the technology and the convenience is what really most people are interested in today. That doesn't necessarily mean that live streaming is the most convenient thing for everybody. But it's really about engaging your fans in the way that is most convenient to them.
That's right.
Uh, and if you do that, then they'll respond by embracing that, because they'll know that you're doing it for them. And then they'll tell other people that, hey, I'm checking out this person here. And through that kind of just very uh, grassroots word of mouth effort of just making it easy for fans to come and take part of the experience you're trying to give them, whatever that means to you, then fans will respond.
Yeah, it totally is about engaging with your audience. And as the world continues to change, media is changing, and the way we market to everyone's phones is changing. Do you have any tips for musicians to market themselves during the pandemic?
Hopefully it's relevant anytime. Always communicate and engage with the things that actually excite you. I think that there's a tendency in our culture to say, I'm going to write this email and I'm going to send this same email to 100 people, and because I'm playing the numbers game, I'm going to get a response from them, and it's going to yield me the results that I'm looking for. And the truth is that you could be much more effective by really just doing your homework and recognizing whether something really feels right for you individually, that you're having a connection with this thing. As a band, you can pool the band's resources. And so it could be like, Billy really has a connection to this thing. Uh, but really just engage with people one-on-one and say, hey, I read an article that you did, and I really enjoyed that. And I can relate to it because of this. And here's a little bit about me. If you're ever looking for someone interesting to write about, like, I'm your guy. Like, that's a much better approach than just, you know, uh, 3 paragraphs about you and your band and why somebody should write press about you. And that's true for every industry. That's true for show bookings, and that's true for um, connecting with your fans too. We think that we should be really posting stuff on a consistent basis, and that somehow having 100 hearts on Instagram is more effective than having a 45-minute phone call with somebody that really needs to pick me up. Uh, and so we really got to pick and choose our battles and try to be more personally engaging and not just mass audience engaging.
Absolutely. I agree. Yeah. And as the owner of Alchemical Records, we're trying to do the same thing and make it more personable, and relating with our audience, as opposed to just looking at it as a numbers game. How is it going since you guys first started?
So Alchemical Records readership has grown to a spot where we were really anticipating and hoping for the kind of numbers that we had pre-pandemic, and then we had a drop off of readership because we weren't getting people looking for the same kinds of thing anymore, especially with no live music, which we were trying to be a part of promoting. We didn't have people looking for these live shows anymore, so we weren't showing up in search engines as much. But then about summer of No, I'd probably say maybe by August, September of last year, we started to see that readership come back, which means that whatever it was that we were producing on behalf of the DC, Maryland, Virginia music community was growing readership in spite of the loss of live music. Um, and so now I feel like our numbers are really back to where they were pre-COVID. And that means that it's a game changer for anyone here on out, because um, now we can continue to grow this audience that understands that we're engaging with current media in this capacity. And then if live music comes back in, then that will just fill a gap that we honestly no longer have. So it'll just be icing on the cake or an added bonus. And I think it's important because we wouldn't have anything to write about if musicians weren't doing something.
Yeah.
So this isn't like, oh, Alchemical Records readership is great because Alchemical Records is this. Alchemical Records readership is going great because the DMV music community continues to find a way to thrive and to continue to make something that they're passionate about and want to inspire other people with during this time. And people are responding. And I don't know if artists or fans really hear a lot about that, but it's effective. Artists are doing a great job of inspiring people to continue on the best they can during this time.
We're definitely resilient, that's for sure. And musicians as a species, it's like we have to adapt to the world around us. Otherwise, it's difficult. So
You must.
yeah, you must. It sounds like things are going good for you, all considering.
Yeah, I mean, it's like everybody else. Alchemical Records is a portion of the time that I can spend doing something I love to do, and hopefully provides a service. We get to see, some response through the Whammy nomination, which I think is really meaningful for me because one, because I didn't get nominated at all when it was just me. Like, it's only through working with people like you to host shows like this and to write articles, because that I'm not writing. Like, it's basically to say that what is effective is Alchemical Records. It's not Daniel Hill by himself that is this effective entity that is getting some credibility or some critical acclaim. It's really a team of people with a passion for the local music scene.
Yeah, and you have to have passion, that's for sure. Not only being a musician, but a creative mind. When you are working at home, what is your work environment like? Do you have any new coworkers or any water cooler conversations?
I mean, my wife and I share an office. She's vacated it for me to be able to do this interview. And then my coworkers are a 2-year-old and 11-year-old, and I'm constantly shifting my daily intentions around notable, unexpected things that they decide to bring up.
Well, hey, I mean, you got one of the first steps of mindfulness, right? You set your intention. So no matter what happens, the boat can rock, but you're doing pretty well, I think.
We like rocking. It's all good.
So I wanted to ask about some of your recent releases as Yellow Tie Guy. You did an acoustic session of a song called Misery. Is that right?
Yeah, we've done acoustic sessions now for Misery and I Cry, and we pulled an old one out called Stronger Than I. And the acoustic sessions are really 4 guys recording on their cameras at home, and depending on how much pre-production there is, depends on how tight or how loose we are.
How did you write the song Misery? What is that about?
Could you say that again?
The song Misery. What is the song Misery about?
Misery is, gosh, so I think I've always wanted to write something that has meaning, that people can grow from. It's really like I've always been on a struggle of personal development growth, and try not to take my own self too seriously too much. But the music is is really meant to say something. And so with Misery, I really come from this place of looking at an environment where everybody wants everybody else to fit into some sort of niche. It's always like, oh, you have to find your niche, or, like focus on strengths. And so everybody just is trying to fit into these neat, tiny categories, which are really more for marketing, I think, than personality tests. Um, and so the song is supposed to come from a place of empathy, and it's supposed to say what's right for you is sometimes right for me, or like I want to do things for myself that help me grow, but not at your expense. Um, and I think there's still a lot to learn about who I am, much less who somebody else thinks they are or hopes to be, or much less an entire culture or civilization of people. Um, it's a little too scary just to have everybody fit into neat, tiny little boxes for everybody to categorize. We're human, and we're supposed to be constantly growing and evolving. We're supposed to have experiences that make us think differently today than we thought yesterday. Like that's what it is to be a human. And so, um, Misery is really about trying to acknowledge that it's okay. It's okay for us to be different and to want different things for ourselves. And I think we can do that without causing harm to one another.
To err is human, and yeah, whatever the rest of that is, right? To
And
err is to
and
be
and
divine.
cleanliness is godliness.
Yeah, and cleanliness and godliness is emptiness. That's right. Wow. Yeah. So that's definitely something to aspire to. When did you first start playing music?
I grew up singing in the church youth choir, and um, I you might even say took like the acting, all the Christmas plays and things like that, kind of got me into being comfortable on stage and being in front of groups of people. Um, and I guess you could say I never really thought that I would become, say, a lead vocalist in a band and shoot for rock stardom. I think that it stemmed from um, looking to looking to say that my religious experience in church I found to be a component that church became over worshipped, that a connection with God, a connection with the divine was such a personal, meaningful experience. And so to say like that the things that we talk about in church, like they're important, but they're really kind of important very specifically to here and always to everyday life, not always to what people are currently struggling through or currently experiencing. And so I wanted I wanted my music to be something I could play outside of a church experience. Um, at the time, the church I didn't feel that I was going to was very supportive of that endeavor, and I really felt like it was a matter of choosing between my lifelong purpose and a commitment to just making music with these intentions and putting them out there in the world and not tying them to some sort of like some very specific religious organization. Essentially, like were meant to be for everybody, and I didn't feel like I was getting that kind of support from my church organization. And so I became very, very primarily focused on just living and existing in that methodology, and letting the music speak for itself and having that spiritual side without. I have people that ask, "Oh, are you a church band or a religious band?" And it's like, no, I'm just a human, like trying to write music about stuff that I think other people can relate to. Hopefully, whatever walk of faith they are.
Yeah, and that's
I'm
the truth,
sorry if
right?
that Yeah, I'm sorry if that went off in a lot of strange directions, but
No, no, you're okay. And I think that the truth of being human, and that goes away from any denomination or faith or creed, is that you want to express yourself, and just by living, the best that you can, you are a musician. That is one of your gifts. And so to be the best human that you can, you express yourself via music. It's what you choose to do. It's what you were put on this earth to do, debatably, right?
Absolutely. And in that regard, see, I look at it as like I could have been a plumber, and I could have been an electrician. I've spent a lot of my years as a wood finisher. Um, but all of these things are professions. They are walks of life. You know, eventually you go down any one road so far that it just becomes really the only thing you know about, or the only thing you can talk about. You know, I mean, it's good to have diverse interests, but you know, at some point, Elon Musk is just working on Teslas and sending stuff to space. That's it, right? Like we're building cars and we're sending stuff to space. If you start talking to him about, you know, about whether or not you know, a shoe company should be giving away a pair of free shoes with every, you know, with every purchase, you know, it might be like so far in left field for him. He'd have like no idea what are you talking about, because it's just not like inside of his realm of consistent understanding.
Yeah, he would reach out to
Um,
his Instagram or Twitter followers or ask Grimes about shoes because he doesn't understand. Not yet, at
yeah,
least.
he would have to claim ignorance and take a poll for sure. You know, like and that's fine. It's just you do you you, and I think that's beautiful. I just think it's a matter of understanding that it's a profession. That as a musician, I don't look at it as like joining a major league baseball team and getting
Yeah,
that contract and being the star and franchise player, or like, you know, none of that stuff. Like, it's like, hey, it would be really like 60 to $80,000 a year as a rock star, like whatever combination of various income streams that means. You know, this would be a great lifestyle, just to keep on focusing on creating and engage with people and make a living at it. I've tried to guide people where I can to steer clear of the starving artist mentality. Um, I think it's good for every artist to starve every once in a while. It's good for good for creative endeavors, but I don't think a musician should like constantly feel like they're in that space. I think that is
yeah.
the detriment of all of us.
How can, well, I would say non-musicians, but I believe that everyone could be a musician if they really wanted to. If someone was given a guitar and asked to jam, and you taught them at least one chord, I bet you they could maybe play something. Do you think that the non-musician community um, can still learn and apply some of these things that you're talking about? Whether they can play guitar or drums or not, they can still be creative and still create as much as possible, right?
Well, that's where I guess like my current career path has kind of led me. I'm writing a book that's made to try to talk on that point, to try to take the information that I've developed as a musician and to really say I think that these principles apply to a variety of types of people. Um, I think that what you realize if you're trying to make a living as a musician is it's just as hard as making a living being self-employed in any other industry.
Yep. Ain't that the
If
truth?
you're the plumber that has to wake up and go to the client's house and unclog that drain, like sometimes you're just that guy that's got to unclog that drain as a musician too. Um, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Well, I mean that's a good segue to being a professional musician. Is like you have to almost take your right of being a human and just change it a little bit because now we're performing for an audience. You're performing to support yourself, your lifestyle, as well as others, and to remind them that music is something that inspires and that it's this, you know, creative force to be reckoned with. Without musicians, the listeners in the world would probably, I don't know, they would miss out. They'd be missing a part of themselves.
Well, I'll say two things on that. One is I believe music is a piece of the entertainment puzzle.
Mm,
I think that it, especially now today, we see it because of the multimedia component of everything that we do, from album art to the YouTube video. Like you need film crew and directors and people
yeah,
with experience who understand how cameras work and what their limitations are, and know when we got to switch over to a green screen and have this guy put on a blue hat, so we can CGI his face in later, to just understanding how layers in Photoshop work for your album art. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of different creative outlets there, but music and other parts of entertainment, from theater to culture, like theater and film and writing a book, like all of these things they go hand in hand with one another. They're not exclusively in and of themselves. Um, you know, watch a commercial with no audio, so there's no music and no voiceover. Like, it's like, what are they selling you and why, right? Like without any context, it's just a moving picture.
Yeah. The
And
emotion
with
isn't there.
music, the emotion isn't there. So music is always supposed to add that emotional component, that emotional element. Um, but in today's modern world, like having these supporting visual elements to help the audience, like stay with them, to feel this emotion with you long enough, like that's where having a good film, or a good music video comes in, or good album art just catches people and keeps it with you. Um, but but on that notion, the second I'll say is everybody has some creative component. My brother was really more somebody who had, artistic, uh, like abilities with colored pencils, and was trying to imitate comic book art styles and things like that, and was successfully doing it. Whereas me, I could draw something that vaguely looked like a Ninja Turtle. Uh, and now I've gotten better over the years. I've never professed to be a great artist or drawer or like graphic person. It's always been utilitarian. I try to get things done. Um, so I've learned a few tricks along the way, but my talents have improved, but certainly not because I've put them through the same kind of rigorous process as a, with a piece of charcoal, as I've done with an acoustic guitar. Um,
That's right.
and but I believe that everybody has some creative outlet that they can explore. And I think that maybe we again just try to glorify things too much. Like, oh, it's a musician, so they're rock stars, and so they're like sports athletes that have hit the top tier. And it's like, I've seen amazing quilts, and that's no lie. I mean, quilts that you're like, here's my money, like put it in the car, um, and that's just because anytime that people put passion into their creativity, and you can really get the sense that you're holding a piece of something unique, like that's what it means to be an artist. And I think all of us are struggling to try to be that to somebody, um, not realizing that with today's media, all we really need is to have that connection with them. Like, that makes us an artist, is that we've created something and one person has this emotional attachment to it, this emotional connection to it. Still, again, there's a lot of pressure on people to have thousands or tens of thousands of listeners and fans, and engaging people on this mass audience spectrum, that with sometimes missing that one-on-one connection.
So, to our listeners out there, we would say, be passionate, and if you're going to do something, by God, be passionate about it. Right? That's the only way to create. And even if you're not a
Crochet
musician,
the hell out of it.
yeah, exactly. If you're not a musician, and your focus is graphic design or poetry or any other creative form, I truly believe that you need to do it and do it all in. So maybe COVID is this wild opportunity to learn some new skills that we've never tried before, or to practice something that we maybe put down. I picked up a children's cello during quarantine, and I'm still not very good at cello. But at least I tried, and I'm playing with passion. I play it like an upright, and that kind of makes sense to me. What are some skills that maybe you've learned during COVID?
I think maybe a little bit more with like video editing software and live broadcasting software. I've been tooling around with Adobe Premiere,
Hmm.
probably twice as much as I would have if I also had live shows to perform. um, and I mean, honestly, other than that, I'm still working on music for Yellow Tie Guy. We have some new stuff that we're hoping to put out consistently throughout the year. and then a rigorous publishing schedule with Alchemical to try to keep up with the submissions that we're receiving. So just the fact that I'm exploring this component in video, and maybe we'll see some more interviews and some more unique video kind of content based on those experiences.
Well, we definitely will. Alchemicast seems like a great start to what will be a fantastic series of talking to guests from the DMV and hearing some really illustrative, almost enigmatic stories and anecdotes about what it means to be a musician, if not just a creative mind. So in wrapping up,
we're just humans talking to humans about stuff we do. It's cool.
We're just humans talking to humans, and we so happen to be able to play guitar or drums or sing, and it's something that we've been working at since we were yay high to grasshoppers. So to wrap, if there's anything else you'd like to add, I'm sure our listeners would like to know. What about the book? When can we expect that?
I would really like to see it. Oh gosh, I hate putting a deadline. I hate deadlines. How about November? I'd love to see the finished version, in some capacity by November. It's been a multi-year labor of love. I started it probably about 2 years ago now, and I've gone through various versions of it where I get about 3 or 4 chapters writing it, and I'm like, no, this is crap, and I just start over. And
been there.
A lot of, yeah, right. Because there's so much that I want to be able to tell people about my history in a way that puts context for people to understand why I'm mentioning something at all. But it has to be done in a way that really guides people along a narrative towards self-discovery. And so even though the title of the book is called Dev, 3 Keys for Success in Your Creative Career, are discipline, enthusiasm, and vulnerability. And I think that even before I get into them, I want to talk a little bit about maybe like processes and planning for it, and what people should expect, when they continue to like pursue this. It is not a get rich quick scheme. It is an acceptance of the fact that when you make a commitment towards your artistic endeavor, it's for life. And so when you start to approach all of your decision making about your creative processes around this lifelong ambition, then discipline, enthusiasm, and vulnerability really become those keys. And so I really want to take people along this journey, tell enough about myself for it to count, but not so much that it's self-serving. And hopefully I can get that out by November.
Yeah, you heard it here. You have to buy the book once it gets out. So Dan, thanks for coming so much on the show. Really appreciate taking the time to talk about Alchemicast and Alchemo Records with you. And your frontman personality is Yellow Tie Guy. You're quite the man, and it's an honor to get to know you.
I appreciate you hosting. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your shirt. Go Social D. Yeah,
Social D and Flogging Molly. It was one of the best self-dates I ever took myself on. It was amazing.
That's right. I hope you treated yourself to a nice drink.
Yeah, you know it. Well, my name's Andy Reid, and you've been on Alchemicast. Thank you so much, Dan. Have a great one.
Thank you, Andy.
My experience has been put to the test. 'cause I want